to this class. So this practice is going to be a little bit slower. It's more of a gentle flow, something that you might do to start your day nice and easily, or you could equally use it to wind down at the end of your day before you go to bed. You might need a couple of props. So maybe I've got a cushion behind me here and a couple of bricks, but you can always substitute these for kind of sturdy books, or maybe a blanket, or just anything that you have to hand at home. So let's get on the mat, and I hope you enjoy the class. Hi everyone, so we're going to start in a seated position. You might want to sit on a cushion, but you can totally just sit on the floor if that's more comfortable. If you are, I'm just going to pop it underneath the pelvis, just give you a little bit more height. You're more than welcome to sit in a chair or any other seated position, doesn't have to be cross-legged. But let's allow the hands to find somewhere comfortable. The shoulders maybe just slide gently down the back. I'm just going to close the eyes when we're ready. We'll take a few breaths here to kind of begin our practice. So breathing in through the nose and breathing deeply out through the mouth. And again, breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. Just allowing your breath to settle. See if you can allow your forehead to relax, your eyebrows, your jaw, your temples. Start to listen into the sound of your breath, the sound of your natural, easy breath. Can you feel the air brush past the nostrils as you take your in-breath? And maybe they brush past the nostrils again as you take your out-breath. You might be breathing out through the mouth. I'm just going to stay with this simple focus point of the nostrils receiving the in-breath and letting go of the out-breath. You might notice that your inhale feels a little bit cooler in temperature than your exhale. Maybe we also begin to notice what movement that breath from the nose is creating in the rest of the body. You might feel a subtle shift in the chest space, the rib cage, the belly. Okay, and then if it does feel comfortable for you to do so, just start to gradually deepen the length of both your in and out breath, just by a fraction. Slightly longer inhale, take in more oxygen. Slightly longer exhale, let it go. Just stay with this for a few cycles. And then just before we begin to move, just take a moment to check in with your body. How are your energy levels today? How are you feeling? This can often help to inform any choices that we may make during our practice in terms of postures that we take, postures that we choose not to take, places where we may rest for a longer period of time. Okay, so we're going to take a very gentle twist here. You're more than welcome to keep the eyes closed. So just start to rotate your torso over to the right hand side of your mat. And you can either place the hands on the floor, or your hands might rest on the body or on the legs. And feel free to let the head rotate as well. So you might be looking all the way over your right shoulder. Or your head might be in its kind of neutral position, just facing the side of the mat. Still taking nice deep breaths. And then slowly unwind when you're ready, and we'll move straight to the other side. So start to rotate your body, your torso over to the left, allowing the hands to either find the floor or find the body, just as a resting point. And again, that head can move as well, or it can stay in that kind of neutral side-facing position. Take a breath here, and then as you breathe out, unwind, facing forward and opening the eyes if you haven't already done so. We take a deep inhale here, reaching both arms nice and tall and taking a side bend. So as you exhale, the right hand either kind of palm down or maybe the fingertips finds the floor or the mat as that left arm sweeps up and over. Let's see if we can stay rooted through the pelvis, so really able to benefit from that nice long side stretch through the left side of the waist and the rib cage. And you could look up, you could look forward, you could look down, whichever kind of one of those options feels most comfortable for your neck and most beneficial for your body. And then on the next inhale, we'll slowly lift all the way up through center, reach tall. And then as we exhale, we go to the left, so the left hand finds the mat. Right arm is reaching up and over. And again, please feel free to rotate your head in whatever orientation feels most comfortable. Again, staying grounded through the pelvis, lengthening through the side body. Good, and then inhale, gently coming all the way back up, and exhale just to let those arms drop down. So we're going to come into a tabletop position from here. So if you're sat on something, you might just want to pop it out from beneath you, and then just turn yourself around so you can find yourself in a comfortable tabletop position on your hands and your knees. And we'll have the toes tucked underneath, so place your toes on the floor, spread the fingers nice and wide. I'm just going to start shifting forward and backwards. So we bring the hips back to the heels, we get that deep stretch through the feet and the toes, and then we shift the weight forward towards the fingers. And we're just finding that really gentle movement forwards and backwards to wake up the feet, wake up the hands, stretch out the wrists. Okay, and then coming back to center when you're ready. Keep the toes tucked underneath, but we're going to turn the hands out. So your thumbs are pointing forward and your fingers are pointing towards the long edge of your mat. We're going to take more of a circle here. So start to draw a circular motion with the body. We start to find just kind of the different contact points of the hands, the palms on the floor. And change direction when you're ready. Okay, and then gently coming back to center, untwist your hands so that they're pointing forward once again. And then either keep your toes where they are, or you might want to rest the feet and bring the tops of the feet down to the floor. I'm going to take a cat-cow here, just warm up the spine a little bit. So we'll start with a simple version, and then you can kind of embellish it if we wish. So in this tabletop, as we breathe in, we lift the tailbone, let that abdomen sink down towards the floor, and the heart space extends. So we get this stretch through the front body and compression through the back body. And then as we breathe out, the chin draws into the chest, the tailbone draws under, and we separate those shoulder blades. So we'll just stick with this for a few cycles of breath. Flexion and extension through that spine. And this might feel enough for you today, so you can totally just stay with this movement. Or if you feel like you want to find a little bit more freedom in this pose, just start to explore all the other variations of movement that your spine can take. So whether it's shifting side to side, whether it's kind of looking over one shoulder, finding a bit of lateral flexion, moving into the hips, the head, the neck. So just take a few cycles of breath, just exploring this kind of tabletop position. You can let the arms bend, do whatever you need to do. And just eventually finding your tabletop when you're ready. Okay, bring the big toes to touch, send the knees out nice and wide, send the hips back down to the heels, and then from here start to slide the hands forward and lift up onto the fingertips, so taking a nice deep chest stretch. So kind of tenting the fingers away from the floor. See if you can keep your gaze forward so that as you bring your chest space down, it's almost like you're trying to bring your chin down to the floor, so we get that really deep stretch through the chest, through the thoracic spine and the shoulders. I'm just going to hold here for a few in and out breaths. Okay, and then really slowly start to plant the palms down, come all the way back up into tabletop position. And we'll do one more little exercise here before we come into downward dog. We're going to take a twist. So come into your regular tabletop position. I'm going to use my left arm first, only because it's the arm that's closest to the camera so that you can see. I'm just going to rest the left hand behind the head and start kind of pressing into the head, just resting there, elbow nice and lifted. And then as I breathe in, I'm going to open the chest space and take a little twist. And then as we breathe out, gently see if you can tap that left elbow down to the floor. So as we breathe in, we open and twist. And then as we breathe out, we lower. And you can bend the right elbow there to help with that lowering down. Inhale to open. Exhale to close. Just two more. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Come back to center. Bring the left hand back onto the mat. We'll go second side. So we just rest the right fingertips at the back of the head, elbow lifted. As we breathe in, we open the chest. As we breathe out, we lower and tap the elbow down. And again, breathing in to open. And breathing out to close. Breathing in and try and just isolate the thoracic spine here, so we don't want the hips to move so much. Just moving that torso. Last one. Breathing in. And breathing out. Good. Then come all the way back to your tabletop. We're going to find our first downward dog from here, so we can just gently tuck those toes underneath, lift those knees, lift those hips. Find your downward facing dog. And we're going to stay here for at least 6 to 7 breaths, so let's maybe start to pedal out through those feet. We might move the hips side to side a little bit, shake the head, shrug the shoulders, whatever we need here in this downward dog. Let's still make sure that we're connecting to that breath. Might be a slightly different pace of breath to what we had at the beginning of the practice, but our awareness and our focus is still there with the breath. Okay, now from here we're going to start to walk the feet forward, so just take your time to step your feet towards the top of your mat. And once you land on the legs, let's bring the feet mat distance apart, so we've got a pretty wide stance here with the legs. Take a soft bend into those knees. Maybe let the arms dangle, or you could catch hold of your forearms. And we just do a gentle sway left to right here, just to kind of let that body hang heavy, let the head be soft. Again, the knees are soft here, so they don't need to necessarily work towards straight legs. Good, and then letting the hands drop down. Just take your time. We're going to come up to standing, so a nice slow, steady roll, bringing yourself up, and shoulders roll back and down. Good, so we're going to do a little swaying movement here. I'm just going to turn to face you, but you're more than welcome to stay facing the direction you are, unless you need to turn to kind of see the camera. But we'll keep those feet nice and wide. We'll take a soft bend in the knees, so we feel like that kind of really heaviness and weightedness through the pelvis. And then all we're going to do here is just start to sway side to side, so kind of similar to what we did in that forward fold. But this time, just letting the arms take a little bit more of the movement. So I'm not kind of necessarily guiding them, they're just moving in accordance with what the torso is kind of allowing them to do. And just kind of hitting the front and the back of the body. And we've got bent knees here just to kind of protect them a little bit, because we're kind of moving into this twist. So you just want to make sure that the knees feel happy in this side to side movement. Just a little bit more left to right. Good, and then start to slow down, make sure that you don't get dizzy, just start to slow down. And come back to centre, good. And then straighten the legs. And then we'll bring the feet a bit closer together, so maybe hip distance apart. I'm just going to lift my trousers up here so you can see my ankles. And spread the toes nice and wide. We're going to work with a little bit of balance here. So nice and gentle, we're slowly lifting both heels away from the floor and then lowering them back down. So we're just lifting and lowering both heels at the same time. We're trying to keep all 10 toes into the floor. So sometimes the feet want to go out to the side and favour the little toes. So see if you can really focus on that big toe joint and go nice and smoothly up and down through centre. You can do whatever you want with your arms. Mine are here just to kind of hold these trousers up so you can see my ankles. Nice and slow and steady. Really good for building up strength in those feet. Okay, on the next lift, we're going to leave the heels lifted and hold this balance. So we're squeezing everything in, thighs are nice and active, glutes are nice and strong, core is nice and strong. Wherever your arms are in space, give them a purpose, so whether they're out to the side or down here or reaching up towards the ceiling. Okay, and then slowly lower those heels down, good. Give the legs a little shake. So you're going to step into a wide leg position this time. So if you're still facing towards the short edge of your mat, just turn to the side and then come into this nice wide legged position. We'll turn the feet out a little bit, so kind of more pointing towards the diagonal. We'll take some moving goddess squats here. So as you breathe in, let's start to sweep those arms up and overhead. And as we breathe out, we bend the knees and we soften down into this squat position. And again, breathing in, reaching everything nice and tall, and breathing out, softening down. We'll do a couple more of these. So breathing in to lift, breathing out to lower. And again, breathing in, breathing out. 2 more, breathing in, use those legs. Breathing out. Last one, breathing in. As we breathe out, let's hold this squat. So we're in an open position with the hips. Let's take a check-in with the arches of the feet. If they're collapsing in, then more than likely our knees and our hips are going to collapse in as well. So start right down from the foundations, get those feet nice and strong, and then engage your glutes, so your hips, to help with that openness in the pelvis. And you're either going to stay here or we can add a little sway side to side, making sure that this feels okay for our knees. So we're just moving left to right. And if you want to go even further with this, we can start to lift the balls of the feet off the floor, so we're shifting kind of heel to heel as we move side to side. Okay, just a couple more of these. Great, and then pausing back in centre. Take a breath in, straighten those legs. Let's drop the arms. I'm going to turn the feet in a little bit. And we'll take a forward fold. So you may or may not do a brick for this one, but we're just going to let the body drop down towards the floor. Let those arms drop down too. If you need a little bit more height, you're going to grab a prop, maybe that's a brick or a book, just to give you a surface for those hands to rest on. And then let's have a little play with the feet here. So the orientation of the feet is really going to change what sensation you feel in the legs. So here we might have the feet pointing towards the long edge of the mat, but you could also try it with the toes pointing slightly in towards each other and the heels pointing out, or the opposite, where the heels are turned in and the toes are pointed out. So kind of got 3 variations, different angles with those feet that you could take here. I'm going to stay for about 5 breaths. Okay, last few cycles here. Remembering that we can have bent knees as well. We don't need to have straight legs necessarily here in this pose. Okay. So we're going to start to turn our body towards the top of the mat. So whether it's your right foot or your left foot, we're just going to rotate and pivot on those feet. So you're kind of turning into a brief lunge position. But from here, we're just going to step straight back into a plank position. So that's why it doesn't matter which side that you go, because we're hopefully going to end up in a plank position with our head pointing towards the top of our mat. We're just going to hold here for a few breaths. Drive back through the heels. Draw the belly button gently in towards the spine. We don't want the bum to be in the air, but equally we don't want it to be sinking down towards the floor. So a nice kind of happy medium between those two. Good, and then when you're ready, just bring those knees down. Slowly bend the elbows and bring your body down onto the mat. And we'll take some rolling cobras here to begin with. So if you bring your hands nice and wide, maybe they're on the floor or just towards the edges of the mat. Bring your forehead down, elbows kind of point up towards the ceiling. We're just going to slowly start to wave up through the spine on the in-breath and wave back down on the out breath. So inhale to come up, exhale to come down. Do 3 or 4 more of these just to again move gently through that spine, lubricate those joints. Let's take 1 more. Great. Now from here, forehead is going to stay on the floor for the moment. Reach those arms back, palms facing towards each other, and let's lift the arms away from the floor. Start to press down through the tops of the feet so the knees can hover away from the mat and the glutes start to switch on. And then from here, we're lifting the chest, the shoulders away from the floor, but keep your gaze down towards the mat so we keep that length through the back of the neck. I want you to feel like you're squeezing your palms in towards each other. This whole back line is nice and active, glutes are switched on. Let's hold here for another few breaths. Okay, and then keeping that chest lifted, bring your hands back onto the mat next to your rib cage, tuck the toes underneath. We're going to make our way into downward dog. So you might press up onto your knees, or you might even come through your plank position. But we're eventually finding our downward dog, planting down through the hands, through the feet. I'm going to stay here for a few breaths. So just breathing steadily. And then just like we did a few moments ago, we're going to start to walk our feet forward. So walking the feet forward and keep them hip distance apart this time. And then just slowly bringing ourselves all the way up to standing. Shoulders move back and down. Okay, so we're going to start with a balance here. And we'll stand on the right leg. So you can just bring your hands to your hips for now. Shift the weight over onto the right foot. Let's lift that left leg away from the floor and just take a bend in the knee and find this kind of standing stork pose. Please feel free to use any props around you that you have, whether that's a table, a chair, a wall or anything, just to find this balance. Pressing firmly down through that standing leg, lengthening out through the neck and the crown of the head. And we're going to take this into our tree pose, so start to open out that left thigh, and then just rest that left foot down the inside of your right leg. I'll just turn to face you here. So I'm balancing on the right leg, got that left foot just resting somewhere on the inside of the leg. It can be low down or it can be high up. And then with those arms, we're just going to reach them out into kind of a capital Y shape, just a nice big V shape up towards the ceiling. Press firmly into the leg, trying to sink into this pelvis, and we'll hold here for a few breaths. Find a gazing point with those eyes. Okay, then gently bring the hands down to the heart space. Release that left foot. We'll take a nice big step back. Left toes find the back edge of your mat. And we're in our crescent lunge. So a nice deep bend into that right knee. Make sure your feet aren't disappearing behind each other, so they want their own lines here for you to feel nice and secure. Couple of breaths, spreading through the toes, lifting up and out of that pelvis. Okay, one more deep inhale. One more deep exhale. We'll bring the hands down towards the floor, frame that front right foot. Now we're taking this into a seated twist. So this right leg, we're just going to wriggle it across to the left-hand side of the mat. So it kind of crosses over the body and we end up with this gap over here. And then this back left leg, you're going to slide the shin forward and then come to sit on that left hip. So we're still facing the top of the mat, we're in a seated position, and we hopefully end up with our right knee bent and our right knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in and sweep those arms up and overhead. Again, exhale, hands come down to the heart space, and we'll take a twist. So without pulling the hands on the legs, just going to rotate that torso over towards the right hand side of your mat. So I want you to feel that length all the way from the tailbone all the way up to the base of the skull. Palms pressed together, shoulders move down and away from the ears. And you can think about pressing the legs into each other here to kind of brace and feel that security in this pose. You take a full inhale. And then as you exhale, gently unwind. Bring the hands behind you. Unwind the legs. Send the feet forward and then scooch your hips closer towards your feet. We're going to take some spine rolls here, so just make sure you haven't got any obstacles behind you. Take your hands around the shins, making sure that we're rounding the spine here, so you don't want to flat back. We're just going to start to roll up and down the spine. So nice gentle movements. And we're going to start to gather a bit of momentum to eventually transition into our forward fold, our Uttanasana. So when you feel ready, we plant the feet down, shift the weight forward, let the head drop, and find our forward fold. You can totally use the hands, give yourself a little bit of extra push. Take a few moments here, body hangs heavy, maybe the head has a little sway side to side. Okay, then we're going to make our way up to standing, so bending those knees, gently unrolling through the spine, coming all the way up. Shoulders move back and down. And let's go straight onto the second side from here. So we'll be standing on the left foot this time, just keeping the hands on the hips for now. Shift the weight and lift that right leg away from the floor. We take our stork pose, facing the top of the mat. And you might have one side that feels easier to balance on than the other. Remembering we want to find that length. We don't want to collapse here in the chest. Stay nice and open. When we're ready, we're finding tree pose. So right thigh opens out. Allow that right foot to find the inside of your left leg. Then from here, we're reaching those arms nice and wide, nice and tall to find that V position. And with the feet, I really think about pressing the lifted leg. So I press the right foot into the inside of that left leg. So almost like they're kind of gluing themselves together, just to really help you find that connection. Okay, take a breath here. And then as you breathe out, guide the hands down to the heart space. A nice controlled step back with that right leg. So release the right foot. Find the back of the mat with those toes. Plant that leg down and take your high lunge. So the left leg is in front and the left knee is bent. Holding here for a couple of breaths, keeping that chest open, legs nice and active. Okay, breathing in. As we breathe out, the hands come down to the floor, palms down to the mat. Start to shuffle your left foot across to the right hand side of your mat, as if you were kind of going to come into a pigeon pose, but we're not going to. The back shin is going to slide forward. We're coming onto the top of that foot and then come to sit down on your outer right hip. So we want to end up with our left knee bent, left knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in, reach the arms nice and tall, and as you breathe out, hands come down to the heart space and we take that twist, this time over to the left. And what we want to also be mindful of here is that we're being true to the twist. So sometimes the arms kind of want to move further around than our body is. So just make sure that your thumbs are staying where your kind of sternum is. And that's just a good way of monitoring how far your upper back is actually twisting, as opposed to your arms just kind of moving independently of your body. And again, we can kind of brace with the legs as they press in towards each other. Just a few cycles here. Okay, and then gently unwind. Release the hands, take them behind. We won't do any spine rolls this second side round. We're going to come straight into a Baddha Konasana. So as you unwrap the legs, bring the soles of the feet together and come into this seated position. I'm just going to turn to face the camera. So we've got feet together. Maybe we're holding the ankles or the feet or the shins. We're going to go back to that circular motion that we did in our tabletop position. So start to find a nice big circle, using those arms to kind of push and pull your body. Just moving nice and gently. And then change direction, so just swap, go the other way around. Good. And then coming back to center. So we'll take this into a forward fold. You can always move your feet a little bit further away, absolutely fine, or keep them fairly close to your pelvis. A brick might be useful for this pose as well. So we're going to start to bring the body down. I'm intentionally curving the spine here, so I'm not necessarily trying to get the most length out of the back. Just let the body be nice and heavy. You might use a brick here for your forehead to rest on, or it might be there as a little prop for your hands. Whatever you want to use it for. I'm going to hold here about 6 or 7 breaths. You can absolutely close the eyes. Allow your focus to travel inward as we start to wind down the practice. and spend a little bit longer in these seated poses. Okay, so when you're ready, moving slowly, just start to bring your body back up, moving any props out of the way. And we'll just bring the hands behind again. This time bring the feet onto the floor nice and wide, and just start to sway in and out with those legs. So just rocking onto the outer and inner edges of those feet. Just getting into those hips. Okay, so we're going to take this into another forward fold, but we're going to use a prop for this one again, maybe like a softer prop. So if you've got a cushion, or you could kind of roll up a blanket into like a long cylinder shape. So you can take a passive variation of Paschimottanasana, kind of seated forward fold. So if you find your sit bones, maybe you want to sit on a cushion if you're not comfortable sitting upright. But with your prop, you're going to slide it underneath the knees. And this is just going to give them a little bit of softness so they're not completely straight as we fold forward. So even if it's just like a couple of jumpers or something that you want to slide underneath. Feel free to take your legs mat distance apart, or they might be a bit closer. Again, encouraging that curve through the spine. So as you fold forward, just let your body kind of fall where it naturally wants to go. Again, you've got the option of grabbing a couple of props here to place underneath your forehead, if you wish. We're letting the hands be soft, so resist the temptation to pull yourself forward with the arms. Just let them rest, let the head be heavy. Take this passive stretch. We'll be here for about 10 cycles of breath. Okay, last few rounds of breath here. And really gently start to press your hands up, bring your body and back up to seated. Let's take out the prop that we had underneath the legs, and we're going to come straight down to our back. So you might need to scoot yourself forwards a little bit. Come to lie down, bring the knees with you, bring them straight into the chest. Give a nice big squeeze. Take a few moments here. You want to sway side to side a little bit. And we'll take 2 more postures. So we'll take Happy Baby and then a twist to finish. So a couple of different options for this Happy Baby. You might keep the knees fairly bent and use it as more of like a child's pose, but upside down. So you could bring the big toes together, separate the knees, and take your Happy Baby like this. So you're still getting into the groin, but it's less intense on the hamstrings. Or we keep this position of the thighs and we extend the legs a little bit so we can grab hold of our feet. If your hips are lifting quite high here and it's putting a lot of pressure on your neck, then I would encourage you to just keep the knees a little bit more bent, and you might even just hold onto the shins here like this. But whichever variation you're taking, trying to get that really big space here in the groin, so the thighs are moving towards the outer edges of your rib cage. I'm just going to breathe here. Okay, and then gently letting go. Bringing the knees back together. Take your arms out nice and wide, either arms straight or maybe the elbows are bent. I'm going to take a twist here, so just let those thighs drop over to either the left or the right hand side of your mat. Let them be nice and heavy, nice and soft. You can slide any cushions underneath or in between the thighs that you need. And maybe the eyes close here. Allow your breath to travel down into your lower abdomen. You can always rest a hand on there as a guide. Okay, last few cycles of breath. And when you feel ready, just slowly bring those legs back through center. And we'll let them drop over to the second side of the mat. Your arms can stay wide, or you can let the hands rest on the torso. Closing the eyes or just softening the gaze as you breathe deeply here into the belly. Okay, and then when you're ready, just slowly bring those knees back to center. We just place the feet on the floor. Bring the hands down to the belly. Just take a few deep breaths here. In through the nose, maybe out through the mouth. Let any last little bits of tension go. Then we're going to make our way into Shavasana from here. So you might straighten those legs. If you want to grab a blanket or you want to use your cushion to place at the back of your head, take up as much space as you can. Make sure that you're nice and comfortable. If you have a lot more time in your day, then you might choose to take a longer Shavasana. You might stay here for 10 minutes or so. I'll take a couple of minutes here and then I'll guide you out of it, but you're more than welcome to kind of stop the video or pause the video as much as you need. So find a comfortable position, close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose. A deep breath out through the mouth. Allow your whole body to relax into the floor. And we might find that we can enjoy the sense of stillness a lot more once we've gone through that process of moving the body, of stretching, of lengthening. Just allow your body to absorb this stillness here for the next few minutes. Okay, so just start to guide your awareness back to your breath. And allow your fingers, your toes to slowly move. Maybe we take a big full body stretch. We lengthen the arms, the legs. And then we gradually start to bring the knees back into the chest, or maybe the feet just place themselves on the floor. And then we'll eventually come up to a comfortable seat, so just bring your body up, find a comfortable seated position, maybe keeping those eyes closed. And just take a moment here to pause once again. How are we feeling as we reach the end of our practice? We allow this sense of calm or connectedness to just kind of melt or bleed into the rest of our day or week or wherever we are at. Okay, and then when you feel ready, just slowly opening your eyes and bring your awareness back into your space. Great. Thank you so much for taking this class. If you have any questions, comments, please let me know below. I have some more new content coming soon, so you can hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Yeah, have a good week wherever you are, and I'll see you soon on the mat.